Right, good morning, everyone. Welcome along to the SFC interviews. This is Mike Heineman, of course, joined with Michael Brough today. Let's crack on and get into it. So, how you doing, Brough? Are you all right, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Michael. Going well. Been a bit of a weird time for all of us, but I'm back in my office now, so back to work. But yeah, all good. Thanks. Good to see you.
What are you getting up to yourself these days in terms of work then?
Yeah, so I've got a recruitment company in Manchester.
Right.
So we're kind of an international headhunting company, if you like. So I went into that. I had to retire at 30 because of knee injuries, and I had to kind of find something and got into this. I really like it. It's hard work, different to what I was used to, kicking a ball around, but I enjoy it. It pays the bills, you know.
That's right, yeah. So, going back to just actually the very beginning. So, when you joined Stevenage for the first spell, what made you join up with the club in the first place?
It was March 2004 that I joined. Graham rang me up. I think I'd left Notts County in the January. So I'd had a knee operation at Notts County. New manager came in and kind of said, there wasn't a future for me there. So I wanted to get a new club, and I wasn't fit, and I went on a few trials and didn't really happen. I went to Lincoln, went to Boston when Steve Evans was there. So I had a couple of trials and just didn't really work out. And Graham just kind of offered me a deal. And I didn't really know an awful lot about Stevenage at the time, didn't know an awful lot about Stevenage, the place. I came down and trained on a Friday with them. They had a game the next day, which was my debut against Woking. Trained on the Friday, did really well in training, and then he offered me a contract after training to sign to play the next day. So I always remember I didn't have a clue where I was. I was staying in the Novotel in Stevenage, as you probably know. I think I took myself for a Frankie and Benny's that night on my own. Tried to chat with the waitress, but she wasn't having anything of it. I kind of remember that, and I was kind of like thrown into it and played in what was like a little bit of a local derby the next day against Woking. So that was how I came to sign, really. I didn't want to initially. I was in League One playing at Notts County. Initially, didn't want to drop to the conference, but speaking to Graham and hearing about the plans and seeing what the club was all about and where they wanted to go, that was my mind was made up, and I got into it and loved it.
And then obviously you mentioned your debut there against Woking, and obviously you said you were thrown in at the deep end. Obviously you signed in just on the day before the Friday. So how much did you know about that game then? And were you sort of mentally prepared and ready for it, or you were just thrown in?
No, I didn't know anything about Woking. I normally was a bit of a stato on teams that I was playing against. Normally, and I didn't know much about the conference. I didn't know much about Woking. I didn't really know much about my own teammates. In a way, I think it was a really good thing because sometimes you can overthink things in football. And for me, just kind of going into it, and I played probably a lot more freely on my debut. Really enjoyed it. I had a really good game, and I think it was 1-1. I think the game.
It was 1-1.
Yeah, Dino score and maybe Ant scored the goal, but I enjoyed that.
And then obviously you formed a formidable partnership in the centre and mid there with Danny Bullman as well. So what was it like playing alongside Bully?
Bully, he was brilliant. He was so fit. He didn't used to work on his fitness as much as everybody else, but he was just in games, he was so fit. Obviously, that's kind of told with how long he's gone on and played for in his career. But now he's also, he probably didn't get the credit for his ability. He's he could pass a ball, he can sing a ball 80 yards right to someone's foot. He was brilliant, so much ability, really good to play with, complemented me quite well. It was funny actually because prior to Danny signing for Stevenage, I'd played against him when I was at Notts County and when he was at Wickham, and we used to have some really big battles. And I've still got a scar on my shin that he gave me that actually went through my shin pad from the game. So we used to have some ferocious battles. he could stick his foot in as well, Danny. But yeah, he's a good all-round midfielder, good to play with for sure.
And then obviously you mentioned about playing alongside Danny there. The one game that really stands out, not just for me, but for any Stevenage fan, really, is the Hereford game, the Hereford away, when you scored the 93rd minute and the 1-0 win. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Well, it was funny on the Friday night. Graham said to me, we had a talk, and it wasn't the Friday night; it was a Saturday morning. Sorry, I think it was at breakfast. He said to me, "I had a dream about you last night," and I said, "Go on, then, tell me." I was like, "That's a bit weird," and he said, "No, I had a dream that you scored the winner in the last minute." And the craziest thing ever, the next day, I actually had some family because my family live in Cardiff. And it was close for them to come, so they came to the game. Graham got them in the director's box, so that was really nice. And then, lo and behold, I did actually score the winner in the 93rd minute, I think, 93rd, 94th minute. And it was brilliant, great feeling. I think at the time, Hereford were like big rivals of ours because we were going for promotion. Obviously, I think ultimately we beat them in the semi-final, didn't we, to get to the playoff final? But
that's right, yeah.
It was a big rivalry. Like they had some really good players at the time. A couple of them I actually went on to play with. Danny Williams, Jamie Pittman, became friends of mine. But there was a big needle between Hereford and ourselves at the time, so that was a massive game. And to kind of score that winner in the deep into injury time was unbelievable. I really enjoyed it. It was. I always remember the celebrations afterwards, and I think it was. It was Barry Laker got me on his shoulders after the game in the warm down, and we were like dancing around on the pitch. I think the fans were all pretty much doing the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember that well.
As a real highlight in terms of when you played against Hereford. Obviously, when it got round to the semi-finals, you were unavailable for that. You were injured, is that correct?
Yeah, I was injured. I was gutted actually because I wanted to try and play a part in getting us promoted. Obviously something we've been trying to do. We'd had a big crack at that season, so yeah, I was injured quite a lot that season, to be honest, and it was really frustrating. Graham was really good with me though; he kept me involved with the team. So I've got nothing but thanks for Graham and for Phil for how patient they were with me and my injuries when I was with Stevenage for the first spell. But yeah, that was really frustrating not to be involved. It was great, actually, funnily enough, because a good friend of mine, Chris Beardsley, who obviously later went on to play for Stevenage. I actually travelled because I didn't travel with the team because the team just kind of travelled on their own, which is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But obviously, I wanted to go and watch that game at Hereford when the semi-final, and I drove. I think Chris actually drove with me. We drove to the game and watched it. So that was before Chris knew that he was going to go on and have a really good career at Stevenage. We watched that game together, so that was quite funny.
And I know I'm going to be getting Chris on at some point. I don't know when that's going to be or whatever yet, but Chris is going to be joining on the stream at some point as well.
He's a busy guy. You probably won't get him on.
He said he will. He said he will.
Yeah, good.
So we've got a message here from Chris de Valda. What was your favourite goal for Stevenage? Is it the Hereford one, or is there anything else?
Yeah, I think the Hereford one. To be honest, I scored a goal last game of the season in I think it was the 2003-2004 season when I'd signed, where it was against Forest Green. Put that on to play for later in my career. And Dino Manria had slotted me in with a little hook, and I'd somehow showed some pace to get through the back line, one-on-one with the keeper, went around the keeper and put it in from a tight angle. That was a really good goal. I like that. But yeah, the Hereford one was, to be honest, one of the most exciting goals I think I've scored in my whole career. Didn't score many. Probably my goal record at Stevenage was probably better than most of my clubs. But that one against Hereford was just, it was elation. I think the fact that it was so late in the game, in such a tight game, that it was going to be the winner was amazing. So yeah, Chris, that would be the goal.
And then How did it feel, upon leaving the club in the first place, when you actually left Stevenage, and then obviously you came back for a second spell as well, on a short-term loan?
Yeah, it was weird. It was not great leaving, to be honest. I'd had injury problems, and like I say, Graham and Phil have both been really patient with me. So I had nothing. I didn't leave on bad terms. I had appreciation, but it was probably the right time. It was an old teammate of mine had taken over at Forest Green.
That's right.
He was on my case to go and sign there. And I'd kind of got back from my injuries, and the club were kind of signing a few new players. I think Adam Miller had come in, and a few other guys, and I think the club were probably looking to go in a different direction. So there was no hard feelings. I was gutted because I had a really good relationship, with the fans and and the club. So I was a bit gutted to be leaving, but it was the right time, and it was good timing for me. I ended up having a really good time at Forest Green. That club was growing. We moved to a new stadium. It was quite an exciting time. They've obviously kicked on since then as well. But yeah, it was good timing, I think. And to come back in 2009, when I was having a difficult time at Torquay, was brilliant. To come back with that squad of players, I think both squads that I played with were excellent in different ways. But what I'll say is, those guys had a steel and a determination. I knew they were going to win the league. I actually wanted to extend my loan and stay longer. But it was an awesome group of lads. People like Robbo, Joel, Lairdy, those types of guys. People I got on really, really well with from the start. Obviously, Ronnie was there. Ronnie was with me the first time I was at Stevenage. And he was still there. So, I slotted straight in, I think, because I knew quite a lot of the guys anyway. I slotted straight in and had a great time on and off the pitch.
You got a message there from Jules. Jules is tuned in. How you doing now? You okay, mate?
Hey, Jules. How you doing, mate? What a guy.
So, yeah, you mentioned there about Ron. So, what was it like playing alongside Ronnie? And, talk to us about Ron. And, obviously you see he's gone on and he's now the club record holder and stuff as well. So,
yeah, he's first of all, I will talk about Ronnie because you can't not. First of all, I just want to say, Jules, what a keeper! Excellent keeper, did really well that year that we made the playoffs. He was unbelievable. Some of the saves that he made. I think the addition of bringing him in was unbelievable, and he was a great keeper, but also someone that was really great to have around the changing room. Got the Mickey taken out of him a few times, but he took it well and gave it all back as well. So yeah, great.
Yeah, we had quite a few stories about that on the stream when I spoke to him at the beginning of the week. There was lots of stories. Jules was saying, about his time with Millsy and his time with Stewie Lewis, and lots of the stories about the changing room and what everyone was up to.
That would have been a bit after I'd left, I think. But yeah, certainly enjoyed my time with Jules. But yeah, Ronnie, what a top guy. I mean, really good professional. When Ronnie joined us, I think it was probably around 2005, I think. I remember him coming in, and he was obviously from Spurs. He got a good pedigree coming through there as a young player, and you could see he was a really good player. But he's actually quite shy, believe it or not. He went on to be one of the funniest people you'll ever meet around the changing room. But when he first came in, he was really shy, and he used to go red all the time. In meetings, whenever Graham used to speak to him, he used to go red, and we used to take the mickey out of him for that. But no, he great sense of humour, Ronnie. Great to have around the dressing room. No wonder he's been involved in and been captain of so many winning dressing rooms, because he's a winner when he's on the pitch. He's one of them people that expects a certain standard both on the training pitch and on the pitch, and he'll tell you if you're not at it. And I think you need those types of characters. And I think that's one feature of my first spell at Stevenage. When I went to Stevenage, I was 22, but I was still a kid. I was still, I'd come through the youth system at Notts County and probably not, really experienced being away from home. And I arrived at Stevenage, and there was some real men, I would describe as men, people like Jason Goodliff, people like, if you remember Steve Watson, centre midfielder. proper man, tough tackling midfielder, and being around people like that, Barry Laker, Dino, Mickey Warner, those types of guys, was really good for me, kind of coming away from that. But Ronnie was certainly in that mould where he was a good leader. He wouldn't kind of stand for any shit.
And then obviously you spoke there about Jason as well. So Jason was your captain during the first spell, wasn't he? So what was it like, with Jason as your skipper compared to the likes of Ronnie and Robbo, who was captain, I think, the second time, wasn't he?
Yeah, different characters, to be honest. Jason was like an absolutely lovely guy, but you also wouldn't cross him on the pitch. He was a winner. I think one thing about Graham, he was very big on people's personalities. We did a lot of work off the pitch, on the sports psychology side of things, having lots of meetings, talking about being a winner. So I think, Jason was certainly in that mould. He could be the nicest guy ever, but then he could also cut through you. I remember we went on a mid-season break to Torremolinos. I don't know if any of the guys will remember this, but it was mid-season. I think it might have been the season we got into the playoffs, actually. And we went away, and we actually it was a 2 days break, and it was not footballing. So you can imagine, what we were doing. We weren't certainly being, we weren't teetotal, put it that way. So we had a couple of good nights in Torremolinos, which I think was brilliant because it was a good break. And on the last night, we had quite an early flight the next day, and myself and Anthony Eldin had obviously stayed up too late the night before, and we very nearly missed the flight. We got to the airport 15 minutes before the flight took off. Jason was captain and pretty much organising the trip because Graham didn't actually come. And I definitely saw a different side to Jason that day, and wouldn't want to see that again. But yeah, he wasn't happy, put it that way, and rightly so, because we nearly made everyone miss the flight back, which would have, I think, impacted negatively, because I think we had a game on the Tuesday night against Grays in, I think, a cup game. I think we eventually won on penalties, and we got back in time for that, luckily. But yeah, we very nearly caused a bit of a kerfuffle, myself and Anne.
Yeah, and then obviously you mentioned that you played alongside Anne. What was it like playing alongside him, and likes of Dino and Boydie through that team as well?
Yeah, some brilliant players, like different. Ant was a brilliant finisher, really, really natural finisher. Really good character off the pitch as well. Really good fun to be around. Yeah, really enjoyed playing with him. But yeah, that natural finisher. Obviously, he went on and had a good career. Went to Leeds. But I think the greatest thing about Ant, sometimes he just didn't think about it. When he wasn't thinking about it, he was just so natural. It was brilliant to watch at times. Dino was a winner. You know Dino well, I'm sure. He was a winner. His mentality, whether he was playing football or on a pitch in a game, or whether he was playing head tennis, he was ferocious in his competitiveness. I've seen, certainly I will say we got into a few scrapes at times with, I'm quite a competitive person. Dino's quite a competitive person. We spent a lot of time together because he was living away from home. I was living away from home, and we were both in the hotel. So whether it was playing cards, I think, playing golf, playing head tennis, we nearly came to blows a few times with our competitiveness, but also had a great relationship on and off the pitch. I remember at one point, I think it was Graham Wesley and Lionel Perez we'd had a falling out over something. I think it was playing golf, and we were due then to play. I think on the Saturday, I think Graham had lined us up. It's when I think he transformed Dino into a centre midfielder.
Okay.
Yeah. Injury, and me and Dino weren't talking, and we were due to play centre midfield together on the Saturday. I think it was against Gravesend. So Graham and Lionel took us, and I think Anthony Eldin tagged along as well. We went to, I think it was Ask, in the leisure park, ASK. Ask.
Yeah.
We went there for a bit of a clear the air pizza, and I think it did the trick anyway, because I think we won again on the Saturday. We won on the Saturday against Gravesend, and we played centre midfield together. So yeah, it worked out okay. Yeah, and obviously you mentioned about Boydie as well. Boydie's the best player I played with at Stevenage, I think. when you look at all the players, and I played some really good players in both spells. I think Boydie was the standout individual player that I played with in terms of his ability, what he could do with the ball, and again how natural he was. He was like, he was actually quite deceptive in the way he was in his running style and everything, his ability, and I think he went from strength to strength. I think you saw a couple of really good years out of him. I think he was really probably just flourishing when I was leaving. You were seeing the best of him, and I know after I left, I played a few times when I was at Forest Green back against Stevenage, and he was on a different level, to be honest, at times.
And I was talking to Jules about this the other day. There was one game, I think it was his final game for Stevenage, and I was away at the time, and I missed it. And it was Murphy in the FA Trophy, and I think it was 7-0, and he scored like 4 goals. That's the kind of player that he was. Like when he's on form, he was unplayable, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was almost like around that time. He was almost like the Messi of the conference. He was just really good and had grown in stature, had matured. I obviously knew George from being like an 18-year-old, 17, 18-year-old, coming through, and saw his development from being painfully shy to being confident and being the main man in the dressing room. So yeah, he really kind of developed, both on and off the pitch really well, and good to see that he's obviously gone on and had a really good career.
And that's right, he's got a good move out of it and stuff as well, didn't he? So
yeah, definitely, and he's done really well. I'm not really sure about how his hairstyles have gone down the years, but he's certainly done well on the pitch.
Yeah, and then so I'm just going to talk about the FA Cup a little bit. There was the game. I think we got to the second round that season. We played Rochdale. We beat Billericay, I think it was, in the first round, and I think the fourth qualifying round. Didn't you score in that? Was it a 5-0 win? I think you scored in that one.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I don't actually know whether that counts because it's the fourth qualifying round, but I've scored in the FA Cup in other ones. But yeah, so yeah, scored in that, and then I remember we played against Rochdale because one of my friends at the time was at Rochdale, and yeah, I think we were a bit unlucky in that game, weren't we? If I'm right, what was the score? What did we?
It was 2-0, but we were unlucky. We did have chances, and it was a fairly evenish game, really, to be honest.
Yeah, I remember the atmosphere being really good, and I think we had high hopes. Graham certainly did, and he obviously got a good record in the cup as well from what he'd done at Farnborough. So yeah, disappointing in the way that we didn't get that I didn't really get a good run in the FA Cup at Stevenage and get a little bit further than the first round.
That's right. Yeah. Andy Woodman was sent off. I think we were 2-0 down at that point. I think it was about the 87th minute.
Did we get to maybe the second round though and play Northampton? Was it the following year? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like
possibly, yeah.
I feel like we did. I feel like we got to maybe the first or second round and I played against Northampton. That was quite a good game, if I'm right.
Yeah. So what was your sort of best moment at Stevenage? It could be anything really. It could be from sort of, from training with the lads, or it could be any, memories or anything really. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, I think both times, coming back and playing in that side that, was obviously destined to go on and win the title was really good, really fun. I think one of my memories from that spell was when we went to Luton. I think it was on a Tuesday night and beat them 1-0 in what was a really good atmosphere. Obviously, a derby that didn't necessarily hadn't really happened that much over the years, and it was at Kenilworth Road. Atmosphere was pumping. The Stevenage fans were on fire that night, I remember, and we got a 1-0 win, and Lairdy scored a memorable goal.
I remember it very, very well. Very well.
And again, so a lot of these games that we're talking about here, I remember distinctly the celebrations after the game, with the fans, was just fantastic, and in the changing rooms afterwards. So that was a really good memory. I have mixed memories about getting to the playoffs, obviously, because with the fact that we lost in my first spell against Carlisle, the fact that I was sat in the stand, not able to play a part in it. And we weren't able to get promoted that year. I had a promotion bonus that I missed out on, and like that. So that was disappointing. Obviously, like, had quite a lot of good times that first season that I joined. Scoring a couple of goals. I remember we had a good comeback away at Scarborough when I scored my first goal for the club. Scarborough used to be a decent team in the conference before they had their troubles, and we I think came back from 2-0 down to draw 2-2, and I scored that game. Obviously, the Hereford one that we've talked about already was, a big highlight for me as well. Scoring that goal, like I say, that elation at that particular time, because they were the rivals. So yeah, but some amazing memories, to be honest, like both on and off the pitch. With some of the guys, made some really good friends in both spells. I'm good friends now with Robert, with Joel. I saw Joel recently, actually. I actually played tennis with him recently. Beat him, so you'll have to talk to him about that if you ever get him on here. He beat me at golf, though. But yeah, had some really good memories both on and off the pitch. I talked obviously about the time in Torremolinos and things like that. So there was, some things that probably didn't go with what I'd planned, but no, really good. I think, like I say, I think one thing about Graham was that he really kind of got you thinking about the psychology of the game, and really got your mind going. I think what I will say is my spell at Stevenage, certainly first time round, is the experience in my football career that's probably held me in good stead for life after football. Like, I'm doing quite well in what I'm doing at the moment. I enjoy it. It's away from football. It's in business. Yeah. But I think that's obviously been quite well shaped by what I did with Graham.
Yeah, that's right. And then Matt just said that in regards to the Northampton, it was I think a replay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think he's right. It's jogged my memory now. I think it was 2-2 at home, and then we went away and lost in the replay, which was disappointing. Quite a tough game at Sixfields, but yeah, thanks, Matt. It's just jogged my memory.
And then Chris saying about that Luton game as well, the 1-0 one. Obviously, that's the rivalry side of it as well, but the Luton fans and all that, yeah. But I remember even going to Hereford. I remember coming out of Hereford. I was with my dad and one of my best mates at the time, and my brother didn't come for some reason. I don't know why, but anyway, we were coming out of the stadium, and obviously we just won and beaten them in the playoffs as well. And they had a little bit of a reputation, didn't they? Their fans had a bit of a reputation.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
We kind of had to be a bit careful.
It's quite a rough area around the ground there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had to be a bit careful coming out of there, to say the least.
After that, yeah, certainly. But yeah, obviously, like with the rivalry with Luton, I actually can't remember. I don't know whether was he saying that our coach got bricked, or was it the fans' coach got bricked?
Fans, I think, yeah.
Right, okay, yeah, because I can't remember that, but I remember there being a bit of hostility after we'd won, but we weren't bothered. We were just celebrating.
So what are your kind of thoughts on Alex Ravel, and obviously, the whole management team that he's got together, the squad he's assembling and stuff next season at the minute, if you know too much about that?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know loads about it. I've heard it's more hearing from Joel. I obviously speak to Joel quite a lot. Joel speaks very highly of Alex, and says he's a really good guy, and he's certainly hopeful that he'll take the club forward. Obviously, it's a bit up in the air about what league you're going to be in. Is there any more news on that yet?
No, no more than what there was. We're still waiting. We still don't know. But the players that we're signing are, I'd probably throw it out there and say they are players for the National League more than anything else.
Right. Okay. Which is probably not a bad thing anyway. And I think that the club obviously need to rebuild. I'm glad that there's a young manager in place, and it's good to see that Phil's having faith in a young manager and someone that's well thought of. So yeah, like I say, I don't really know too much. I don't know as much about conference players and about League Two players as what I did maybe 8-10 years ago. But I'm glad, and I do keep in touch with it. I do obviously always watch out for Stevenage's scores and results and who's playing. And I've probably been lucky enough, up until this point. Obviously, Joel's moved on now, but I've been lucky enough to always have a couple of friends that are still there. So maybe I'm going to have to make friends with a few of the current players so I can just keep tabs on what's going on.
That's right. I'm sure that the fans are, us guys will keep you all up to date with everything anyway. And it's the 11th of August we find out, so a couple of weeks' time, about 2 weeks' time.
Right, okay, yeah. So I'll keep my fingers crossed for that, because it'd certainly be great to see Stevenage stay in the Football League.
And then let's have a look. Matt's saying there he remembers Aldershot as well, and Dino scoring there. That's another one with a little bit of a rivalry at the time. So.
Yeah, the Aldershot games. It was like I was quite surprised in a way, because Stevenage wasn't that close in location to Aldershot and to Woking and teams like that. But like the rivalries with those clubs were absolutely massive. And I suppose I remember Farnborough being another one, because of obviously what had happened with Graham taking a load of players from Farnborough. There was also a lot of needle in that. It was like we were the most hated team in the conference, and everybody just like wanted to beat us. And I think everybody had it in their head, I don't know where, but that we were like one of the best payers as well. So every time someone played against us, they were like trying extra hard because they wanted to join us and everything like that. But yeah, it was there was a lot of needle in those games: the Aldershot, the Wokings, and the Farnboroughs.
Yeah, Richard said it there. Last season, we had a few League One players, and obviously you can kind of see what happened there. It was a very difficult season with all the changes in management, with Dino starting off and then going to Mark Sampson, and then Graham coming back for his fourth spell, and then now Alex towards the end of the year as well. So it's a very difficult season.
Why do you think they struggled so much then last year? What was the kind of main reason, do you think?
I think it's a consistency. I think there's just too there was too much change. Whether that was from the manager all the way through to the players.
Yeah,
and lots of loanies, lots of on the back of the season before, we just come outside the playoffs. I think we were like 1 point outside the playoffs, whatever it was, and there was still quite a lot of change. A lot of players decided to move on, and things like that for whatever reasons. And I don't know if there was any way that change could have been kind of held off for another season or anything like that on some of their contracts, but that's up to them, and that's they know that. We're just guessing, aren't we? So
it was weird to see, really, that obviously, especially with Dino starting the season, and I know Dino well, and I know the type of coach he is, and that he's a winner. So I fully expected you to have a really good season, and for Dino to be in the job all year long, and beyond that. So it was a surprise for me to see from the outside. But yeah, I guess I don't really know too much about what's going on day to day. But certainly disappointing to see the results, and hopefully you'll be able to rebuild now.
Yeah, and a lot of them, as Richard said, a lot of them are kind of playing for themselves more than playing for the team. And that was kind of evident at times. So
well, that's actually something that the success that Stevenage have had over the years is not been an individual thing. When you look at the team in 2009, 2010, when we got promoted that year, if you look through the team, there weren't any superstars. I mentioned Boydie before from my previous spell, but Lairdy went on, very good player. I think Andy Drury had a lot of ability, but there wasn't players there that were blessed with loads and loads of ability. But the team spirit, everybody had really good values, good work ethic. You look at people like Robbo and Michael Boswick, Ronnie, Chris Beardsley, Charlie Griffin, players like that. There were a lot of players there that weren't necessarily global superstars, but all clubbed together, and the team spirit was amazing, and that counts for a lot. So I don't know whether that's maybe been lost a little bit if you're saying that playing as individuals or whatever. But like I said, I don't really know the players. I haven't really seen an awful lot of the games or anything like that, so I wouldn't be able to comment properly. But that's certainly something that we benefited with back in the day.
Yeah, Matt said it there as well. We couldn't score a goal. The problem was we'd lose games 1-0, or we'd lose games late on as well. In the 90th minute, 93rd minute, things like that in injury time, 89th minute, for example. And that's it really. Like we've had a number of strikers throughout the season, but for whatever reason, it just didn't really, work for any of them.
I like what you just put there though about Eldinho. It's just reminded me of that nickname. To be honest, everybody needs an Eldinho type player up front because he could just get a goal out of nowhere. The great thing about Ant sometimes is that he almost kind of didn't know if he was having a bad game. He'd sometimes be having the worst game ever, and I sometimes looked at him and thought, if I was actually playing that bad, I would not try the things that he would try. He'd be having a really bad game, and then he'd shoot from the halfway line and score.
Yeah.
And he sometimes didn't know, and that was like, in a way, is one of his biggest strengths. Was like his confidence remained at the same level despite how well he was playing, and that's why he was so great to have, because you could be all having a bad game and it'd be 0-0, and then Ant just pull a worldy goal out of his arse.
That's right. We didn't really have last season. We didn't really have too many strikers or any strikers like that. Like the Ants, like the Steve Morrisons, like the Barry Hales, like the Carl Alfords, for example. Strikers that would get you 20, 25 goals a season.
Yeah. No, fond memories of Ant, and certainly the Eldinho nickname that obviously stuck on the terraces, but also in the changing rooms. Eldinho was a really good nickname.
And then obviously we've got Scott Cuthbert that signed on as well. Scott, I don't know how much you know about Scott. Have you played against Scott, or you played?
No, I don't know him too much now. Tell me about him.
So he's the current captain. He come from Luton, and he's an excellent guy. He's a Scottish lad. And he's a real.
Would you describe him as? Is he more of a Danny Griffin, or?
He's a centre back. So he's kind of. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Sorry.
So he's kind of, you're kind of no nonsense centre back, I guess. And he's a winner. He's a born winner.
Right. Okay. Is he tall? Is he?
Yeah, he's tall. He's a tall guy.
How long's he been with the club? So I think I might have seen him play when.
He's similar to Goodliff in a way. Like he's kind of got the qualities of Goodliff, mixed with the qualities of Robbo, mixed with the qualities of Ash a bit, like kind of a mix between 3 or 4.
Right. Okay. Good.
Solid centre half. Yeah.
Sounds like you're in. So he stayed on for next year, is he?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's good news. Well, I think that's something that you're going to need, is like when you have, if you do get relegated, if that is a reality, and Macclesfield stay up, then certainly what you're going to need is someone to kind of galvanise the team, and some leaders in there to pick everybody up, because that season when you have gone down or whatever, it can be really difficult to lift people. So you need positive characters around, and that's certainly something we benefited from back in the day. But good to see that Scott's going to be the guy that carries them through, and hopefully there'll be some other people in the changing room that will be hungry. And I think that's one of the things that is most important, is having that hunger. And that's why if you do get Stevenage know what it's like to be in the conference, and they know what it's like to get out of it. And a lot of the time it was done with players who were really kind of hungry to progress their careers. I was like that. Everybody around the club at that particular time was wanting to get into the Football League. It was a massive thing for us. And you need that hunger, you need that desire, and hopefully you'll be bringing people in with that mentality.
Yeah, and there's quite a few players that have signed, as I said, that are off of the National League and the non-league and stuff, but they're all players that are hungry. They all look like players that are going to want to prove a point. And like if that's if that's in the National League, there's quite a few players there that have got the pedigree and able to score goals. We've signed I think 3 strikers that are all goal scoring strikers at that level. So
good. Yeah, you need your strikers. I think to get out of the conference, with it being so difficult with only 2 teams going up, you need strikers that are going to score goals, and not just 1 or not just 2. You often need 3 or 4. Where you can switch it up during the season. Give one of them a breather. get people coming off the bench and scoring. So that's really important. That's one of the things that we had.
And then, we spoke about Alex a little bit. So have you seen much about the club, and what the club have been doing during the pandemic, during the virus, in terms of the sort of sandwich deliveries and the care line? And have you seen anything like that? Or
yeah, I have. Yeah, because Joel, again, it's probably coming more from what I'd heard from Joel, but I heard that you've been doing some really good stuff in the community, which is really important at the moment. It's important that we all stick together and try and help out in every which way possible. But yeah, I did see some of it. It is really positive. It's great that the players are doing that, and the fans reacting. So yeah. To what else has there been going on? What else have players been doing?
So the main one is basically that. It's basically the sandwich deliveries and stuff. That's the main one. They've just gone back to training actually this week as well. I think they've been in training for about 2, maybe 3 days now. So they're focusing on that side of it. And yeah, I agree with what Richard has put here as well. The fact that Lenny Lawrence has come in, that's going to be a big help for Alex, I think, as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, he's obviously got so much experience. So yeah, that's going to be he's also somebody that has had a lot of promotions in his career. So having someone with that experience around is going to be brilliant. And then
so was it? Yeah, we kind of touched on it. Was it easy to return to the club for the second spell? Because I think you had a couple of offers, did you? Is that right?
Yeah, it was really easy at the time because I was having a nightmare at Torquay. I wasn't getting any game time. I'd kind of had a bit of a fallout with the manager. So it was really easy because, like I say, I was good friends with Beardo at the time, and he had a flat with a spare room in. So it was like, right, where do I sign? Yeah, I did have a few clubs interested at the time. I think I ended up going to Mansfield afterwards, and they were interested first time round. There was a couple of other clubs interested, but yeah, I think because I knew Graham, I knew where the club was kind of going. I knew a few of the lads, and I was familiar with it. And it was a month on loan, and why not go to somewhere where you're familiar? And I think that the dynamic of that worked really well. Like I say, I wanted to stay longer. They couldn't get it agreed with Torquay, unfortunately, at the time, about the terms of it and everything. So it was disappointing I couldn't stay on, but yeah, I had a great month with that, and he didn't.
And that's when you moved on to Mansfield, wasn't it? And then you signed permanently with Mansfield after that loan.
Yeah, that's right. I actually, funnily enough, I actually never signed permanently with Mansfield. I was on loan initially until January. Yeah. And then signed a loan. I think it was put out in the press that I'd actually signed permanently, but I never actually had. I signed a loan then till the end of the season. But yeah, what happened was I ended up having to go back to Torquay. I think I travelled back to Torquay. The loan didn't go. I think the loan ended on something like the Wednesday. Yeah. I remember leaving, and then I was thrust into training on Thursday morning. I think Torquay were going away somewhere I think they might have had a Friday game or something, but the first team weren't training. But the manager made me go back and train with the youth team on this. Must have been the Thursday morning, or whether it might have even been the Thursday that my loan ended. So then I travelled back to train on the Friday morning with the youth team. Like I say, the manager had a bit of a problem with me at the time, so it was obviously making me do that. And then I got there, and the youth team weren't even training. So I ended up in a car park. The training ground wasn't even open; the gates were closed. They used to train at, I think they had a training ground which was Newton Abbot Racecourse, and we couldn't even get in. So I was told to do running in the car park. The car park was in really bad condition. I think the team manager at the time was kind of just carrying out orders and said, right, you've got to do some running up and down the car park. And I just said, no, I'm not bothering with that. I didn't want to risk getting injured, by turning my ankle in the car park. So I didn't. So it was kind of the harsh reality of what would have been an amazing month, and then going back to a club where I obviously wasn't wanted, and being asked to run up and down a car park. So it kind of went downhill quite quickly. So then I obviously wanted to get back out of Torquay and get back out on loan. Unfortunately, talks broke down between Torquay and Stevenage. I don't think Torquay were allowing Stevenage to do the deal. And then David Holdsworth at Mansfield came in. Mansfield was very close to where I'm originally from in the East Midlands.
Yeah.
So that was then quite an easy decision. There was a couple of other clubs around at the time, but again, it was probably then an easy decision to go to Mansfield and sign there.
A lot of your career was actually spent up, sort of Mansfield, Notts County, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where I'm from. So, I obviously came through the youth system at Notts County. Was there from age 9 right through to 22. Then, went off around the country a little bit. Stevenage, Forest Green, Torquay, and then made my way back home. I think certainly remember my mum being quite pleased that I was coming back for a bit.
Yeah, I could imagine as well. Once you've done all that travelling, for 3 or 4 different clubs over a number of seasons. So let's have a look. What was it like playing alongside Mitchell Cole? Obviously, Mitch played in that side as well, the winning conference winning side.
Good, yeah, lots of ability. I think he could frustrate you sometimes, but on another day he would be a world beater. I played against him a lot when he was at Grays, and always admired him as a player. Always, a really nice lad as well. One that even when you played against him, I didn't actually properly know him. You'd have really nice conversations with him, and a mutual respect, I would say. And then came to Stevenage. He was one actually when I came to Stevenage who second time round that made me feel really welcome. Got on really well with him from day one. Actually went and helped him in London with his brother-in-law's move at one point, and he took me for dinner, and we spent quite a bit of time together in that month. So obviously it was incredibly sad what happened and everything, and my thoughts were obviously with his family at the time and still are. Must be horrendous, but I've got really positive memories of him. He was, like I say, a player with a lot of ability, and a really nice guy as well.
And the one game that kind of stands out when I talk about Mitch, with any player that played with him or anyone that knows him, was Eastbourne away. And it was a 6-0 victory. And he scored, I think he scored a hat-trick in about 9-10 minutes, something like that. And he was like, he was just unreal that day. He
had a period, and I wasn't, when I came back and I played with Mitch, he probably wasn't in his purple patch, but I remember, I think he joined Stevenage after I just left the first time. And it was around that time, I think it was Steve Morrison and a few other players like that, Adam Miller. They had a good team because I played against him quite a few times when I was at Forest Green. Boydie was coming into his own, and they had Mitch, and we played against Mitch a few times, and at times he was unplayable in those years. I think he had a little bit of a purple patch where he was just like brilliant and just unplayable. So really, really positive memories of him.
Yeah, he was a fantastic player, as I've said there. I think we're probably pretty much mostly done. Just one more. What would you say about like the current situation with Stevenage? Obviously, being up in the air in terms of what league they're going to be in. What were your kind of thoughts on that? With the whole season.
It's disappointing to see, like when Graham went in, I thought, well, Graham will sort it out. He always does, So I think everybody was a little bit more relaxed when that happened, and it was probably, quite a shock that, things didn't turn around as quickly as they did, and you kind of almost don't think it's going to happen, that relegation is actually going to happen. So I was quite sad to see it, but I also know that the club will get back, whether they stay up this year with Macclesfield being Dr. Point, or whether they could bounce back next year or the year after. Phil knows what he's doing. He'll be fine. Hopefully Alex is the right guy to move the club forward. And like I said, I'm really pleased that Phil's giving a younger manager a chance, and hopefully get some good people around him and do well. So yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, it looks that way. You know, Phil's very big on giving these guys a chance. He gave Teddy Sheringham that opportunity. He gave Darren that opportunity to move up through the system from the youth team as well, who's now at Yeovil. And you know, he's you know, and even Dino as well. He's big on giving those guys that are just new into management the opportunity to actually, you know, flourish and shine.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you look when you put it into reality, you know, and the progress that Stevenage have made over the last, you know, 10, 20 years under Phil, you know, it's been phenomenal, and there's been some really good memories along the way, you know, I'm sure for the fans. So you know, it's just a blip. You know, you may go down and you may have to spend a year or two in the conference, but you know, like I say, you know, Phil knows what he's doing, so I'm sure you're going to be fine.
And yeah, Matt's just got a question in there about like management or coaching. You know, was there like once you finished playing, was there any kind of you know, part of you that wanted to go into anything like that, or were you kind of just set on?
It was. Yeah. I kind of Mark Cooper was my my manager at Darlington when unfortunately I had to finish up, and he was kind of looking to get me on the coaching staff at the time. I went over to the Hawthorns at West Brom and did my UEFA B with a few other ex-players and kind of got into that. But I kind of fell into my job and really loved it and kind of didn't really look back. I'm getting back into coaching now because I've got a 5-year-old who's keen on football, and I'm going to be the manager of Prestwich Juniors under sixes. So where I live, just outside of Manchester, is you know, going to be you know, my new coaching project, the under sixes. So yeah, hopefully I'll get back into it that way. I'm still obviously very interested in what's going on. It's nice to see that, you know, people like Chris Beardsley has gone into, he's now assistant manager at Burton. So that's
right, yeah.
So I kind of just, you know, without realising, I've been out of football for 8 years and I've found myself a job, and you know, which I really enjoy, which I've been really successful in so far. So I guess I'm lucky in that sense that I've had a good run at something else. But I'm sure I'll find my way back into football. My fiance actually is she's the director of operations for the academy at Man City.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm kind of like still in it, if you know what I mean. I get the you know, the lowdown from her on what's going on with the academy there. She's very influential in what's going on there and talks to me about quite a lot of the decisions they're making and everything. So it's kind of nice to have that still in my life. So yeah.
Chris has just said it there. He just said Carl Alford said to say hello to you. He works alongside. Does he work alongside her at Man City? He's part of Man City now, isn't he?
So who's that?
Carl Alford.
Oh, is he? I don't know.
He does some stuff for Man City. Yeah.
Oh, is he really? Okay.
Yeah. Another old Stevenage player. He played a big part in the.
I'll have to ask her if she knows him.
Promotions and that.
Yeah. That's before me, wasn't it?
Not the promotions in the conference. He was top goal scorer in the conference for a while.
Yeah.
So I think he was part of the team that won promotion and couldn't go up because of the ground, maybe something like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Remember that.
But yeah, Richard just said, yeah, it's been great having your views. Shame we don't have more players like you.
That's very nice.
I've spoken to quite a lot. You know, I've spoken to, this is 18 now. I've got quite a few more lined up. I'm speaking to Carl on Monday. I'm speaking to Brady, John Brady on Wednesday.
Brady, yeah, a good player and a good friend at the time I was at Stevenage. Used to travel with Braids to games. He's doing a lot of coaching now. I see quite a lot of his sessions on social media. I think he's with Northampton, I think, if I'm right.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
He was very bright, and he was always going to be one that went on and did some good stuff in coaching. He's obviously had a few management jobs as well. So yeah, good guy, Braids.
And I'm speaking to Jonathan Myrie Williams at the end of next week as well. And yeah, like I think Beardo said he's going to come on. Ash said he's going to come on. Griff said he's going to come on. You know, there's a number. Danny Potter's going to come on. So yeah,
good. So
there's still a lot more. Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been nice to speak to you.
Yeah, it's been great chatting to you, mate. Thanks a lot for your time, and we'll leave it with this one. There you go. Could have done with somebody like Brady and Brough this past season. We wouldn't have been rock bottom where we are at the moment.
That's very nice. Thanks,
We'll
Matthew.
leave it with that. So,
right, take care. All the best anyway, and I'll certainly be looking out for what's going on and the decisions that are getting made in the next few weeks. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, so it's the 11th of August that we find out. So about 2 weeks' time. So hopefully we'll get some good positive news and be able to focus on hopefully what is league football next season.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cheers, mate.
Thanks, Michael. Take care.
Bye now. Bye.